You're okay.
I don't look ready, but I am.
All right. At 5:47, I will call the select board meeting to order on Tuesday, July 22nd. 5:45, is that what I said?
Yep. 47 actually.
You said
47, right. And I make a motion to go into non-public session under RSA 91A:3 2C.
Sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, switched it up from the roll.
Well, we're now in non-public.
Roll call, roll call.
You need roll call?
That's when you go into non-public, you have to have a roll call.
Okay, roll call vote.
Did you say yes?
There, yes.
Sure, yeah.
Yes, yes.
We're now in non-public.
Sorry, we're having technical difficulties because the Zoom computer decided to have a meltdown.
I make a motion to come out of...
No, I haven't started yet. Sorry.
Oh.
Sorry.
You're on a PC. Going that one more down, I
PC?
think, yeah.
Okay. Great. Launch meeting. Ah, it's me. Why is it me?
Is the owl on?
It is not.
The owl should be on. Guys. Oh no. What is that? I don't know why that was going. Bear with me. There's what? The owl's missing its parking cord. Right? Huh? It's right there.
Yeah.
We go on?
Yeah,
Oh, good.
now it's
Yeah, there it is.
Okay. It didn't hoo-hoo though.
It's
Well.
drowsy. It's still waking up.
It's flashing its little eyes.
All right, it's very.
Hi, everybody.
There we go. Okay.
Most satisfying part of the whole meeting.
Okay.
But if you hit the up arrow next to the video icon on the left, you should be able
Thank
to
you.
choose the owl.
Okay, and then we're gonna start. Okay, I think we're good now.
You're still in your webcam though.
Oh, what are you talking?
So-
View?
Nope, on the bottom gray taskbar on the left, you see, yep, that little up carrot.
Yeah.
The little up carrot to the right. There you go.
And then
This.
Yeah,
owl.
there you go.
You're doing great.
Do the audio too, same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you see it?
It's the second one underneath microphone.
This
Yeah.
one? Okay.
And there's another one.
Oh god. Where's that?
Do the audio again, there's two
Oh,
places.
because the other PC's stuck in up
Where do
there.
you see that?
So
So-
the little audio up arrow,
Yeah.
the second one down, see in the
Same
middle
as
there?
The speaker, nope, keep
No,
going
down
down.
under select a speaker, yeah, right there.
Okay.
Yeah, so you gotta select the speaker and the microphone.
All right. So
Yeah,
now
Make
it's all
it easy,
selected
huh?
now.
That's right.
No, you're good there.
All right. Hey Maureen, can you hear us?
You have her muted.
Turn up volume.
Yes, it's fine.
Okay.
Thank
Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Now you can call the meeting to order.
I make a motion to come out of non-public session at 6:13.
Second,
Roll call vote.
You say yes?
Bear, yes.
Schaefer, yes.
Yes, yes.
Roberts, yes?
And changes to the agenda. There are some additions to the signature file from the draft agenda. Is there any public input before we get rolling? Okay, we will start with,
Did you get back about the fire truck?
Yeah, I did. Yep. I talked to Jim Bowles and he asked around the department. There's a new member of the department who's got a lot of firefighting experience at different departments who used what he knew from different departments and filled up his little pool. And then he heard people talking about denial requests from a townsperson saying, no, we don't do that, we haven't done that in years. And he quickly called and checked in with Jim or the chief and said, oh, I did this because I thought that this is what fire departments could do because that's what I've always done at my other departments. So they made an announcement, clarified, made sure everybody was on the same page that years ago they used to fill up pools for a donation, but they no longer do that.
Any other public input? We will start with a department head update. Our health officer, Michaela.
Hello.
Hello.
So it's been pretty quiet. We've had 5 cases all year, and only 1 is open. I've done 2 school inspections. I've had 3 separate conversations with restaurants looking to expand their offerings, and a lot of what I'm dealing with is septics lately. The problem is septics can be hard to enforce once it gets into the older house territory, pre-1977. But there are some ways to remedy having people pump and taking care of their septic systems so that everyone around them is safe. I've added a bunch of resources to the website from the Swimming Mapper, 12 Ways to a Healthy Home, Environmental Health and You, private water testing, and then a way to get private water tests through the state, tick-borne diseases, and all hazard preparedness guide, as well as food protection. And then finally, I attended the Health Officer Regional Conference in Conway, which was free. We did septic case studies there as well, where it's actually dealing with real cases that have happened in the state that have been a nuisance and how they remedied those. We also attended there was an unsanitary living case study done that was also free. And there's a current case in the southern part of the state that seems to be a nuisance that's been going on for 10 years. So, and they've been trying to clean up this house for 10 years. And so we were giving ideas on how to fix that and remedy that. But it's hard to enforce things sometimes when, live free or die, which is great, but to some extent. And then finally, I volunteered us for a tick drag in the fall, which was free. So far, only towns in the southern part of the state have done it. I think it's really a miss that they haven't done it up north yet because all the ticks are up here. So what happens is we find 3 locations, we take a drag mat, we drag and get those ticks, send them to the lab and find out what tick-borne diseases we have in town. So, got a lot going on, but
I'll volunteer in my backyard if you need a good spot.
You got tall grass?
Yeah, a lot of ticks.
Yeah, you do got a lot of ticks. That's a good note.
My personal record is like 30 something in one day.
Stop.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well you sound like a perfect case.
He keeps taking one off and putting it back on. Catch and release.
Just like fishing. So that's pretty much everything going on right now. It's not that time consuming to be a health officer, luckily.
Good.
Yeah, great, thank you.
Thanks for adding all those resources, that's awesome. Yeah.
And those are things you've added to the website or?
Yep, so if you go to the health officer page, I have them all in quick links.
Cool.
And it's still got a lot of great information on ways from lead abatement to radon testing to what you can do if you live in an older home, how to make it livable, but at not too much of a cost.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just ways to help people.
Cool.
Anything else for Michaela?
Nope. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming.
Of course. Have a good night, guys.
Thanks, you too.
Sorry, technical difficulties one more time. Sharing my screen. Let's just share, right? Okay. And we're gonna open up. Open up. Oh my God, where'd it go? Well, might have to do your heart. I'll fiddle with it, but why don't you do your? We'll hand out these presentations for both. You might-
All right, next, we're going to hear from Bill Lambert from the Department of Transportation, State Department of Transportation, about the possibility of four-way stops in Tamworth.
Good evening. I always have a backup plan, just in case things don't work
God.
out. So, thank you for having me here tonight. My name is Bill Lambert. I'm the administrator of our new office as of July 1st, Office of Highway Safety and Active Transportation. So I'm responsible for our safety program and active transportation bikes and peds. Prior to that, I had 23 years as a state traffic engineer. I'm one of the few people around that remembers Dave Bowles at the DOT, never mind Jim Bowles. So, been around for a while. I've looked at a lot of these intersections. Looks like we might
Looks
be ready
like
to
you
go.
might be getting there.
Trying it. Should view right, full screen,
No, yes. Be easier
just to do it.
to show you.
Get our tech guy over there.
Of course, this one?
And then if you go to this guy again, you can hit the minimize button. It should clear up the screen a little bit.
Okay, awesome.
All right,
Thank you.
so I'll ask you to
Thank you.
advance the slides. Is that how it's going to work?
What was that?
Want me to ask you?
That'd be great, yeah.
Okay. So I've been around this intersection, trying to orient myself, this intersection down the street, 113 and 113A, a few times in the past and looking at it. But in the last couple of years, we've kind of rethought our position on all-way stops, so I thought it was worth coming back here. I know in October, we met with this traffic safety group and talked about this intersection and some of the other things concerning the town, including 16 by Shakora Lake. Which I can talk about that tonight, but I'm here to talk about the 113, 113A intersection. A little bit of background about that, talk about some recent changes that we've had in the state. The ones I've got are not really that recent anymore, they're probably 5 to 10 years old, but kind of describes why we've changed our philosophy about always stops. Talk about some awards that were granted by Federal Highway and Roadway Safety Foundation in 2023 for life-saving projects in North Carolina and Delaware, which were just converting all-way stops to two-way stops to all-way stops, and then talk about this intersection and open for questions. I don't have to go with this paper anymore because you got it, right?
Yeah, that's good.
Perfect.
The next slide?
Yeah. So like I said, in previous reviews of the intersection, 113 is a through route, although it turns its adjacent legs of the intersection. Those are all over the state of New Hampshire. We always struggle with how to regulate them because people don't understand. For instance, here in this photo, before we put that stop sign in, if somebody was going to the village of Tamworth, they got the right of way. But if they were making a left, well, that's not right. If they were coming from the left and they wanted to go straight, they were making a left off of 113 and would have to yield to somebody coming around the corner. So it was not intuitive to them, and that's why we added this third stop sign.
This is looking west?
That's looking west.
Yeah. Yes.
Toward the village.
Gotcha.
So we're looking, we added the stop sign here and with a panel that says traffic from left does not stop. Like a lot of these intersections in the state, we still get complaints about it, so we were reluctant to do the always stop at this point because the approach coming from the south or from the west, coming over that crest, didn't have a lot of sight distance to the intersection, and we were kind of concerned about that. Next slide. So, like a lot of these intersections in the state, I don't know, I attribute this quote to Albert Einstein, but that might be an internet legend. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And the reality is that we treat a lot of these intersections the same way time and time again, and we keep coming back to them because they continue to have crashes. So it's like the ultimate optimism that we think eventually we'll trip over the right solution. So we're kind of moving beyond that. Next slide. And some locations where in recent years we've tried a lot of different things at an intersection, and then I'd say reluctantly because it didn't meet the traffic volume numbers that we would typically look for an always stop. We put the always stop in place, and it seems like the problems have gone away. We either have eliminated or very much reduced the crashes. So the one on the left is in Franconia. That's where Route 18 going left to right is north to south, and 116 coming out of Easton, which a lot of people confuse with Eaton, comes over the crest of that bridge and then comes into a stop, and then coming off I-93 exit 38 is to the top or east. People come off the highway and don't necessarily expect to stop so quickly. So there were a lot of crashes in that location where people would come over that bridge and just go right through the intersection. The channelized right turn going towards Sugar Hill is because that's a fairly heavy volume. That top left corner, that's where the local grocery store is. And who knows if they carry Hammond's cheese and they smoke their own pepperoni. I just found that out Friday, so that's good to know. But we, after years of putting the intersection beacon on top of the intersection, put a flashing light on the stop sign coming from 116, bigger stop signs and all of those types of things, we would still get crashes. So probably 4 years ago, we made this an all-way stop by stopping the two directions of Route 18, north and south. And in practice, it kind of feels intuitive. It's the center of town, it's kind of the village setting, which is not unlike what we have out here. The one in Gilmanton was one that I didn't think would work. 140 from Belmont to the bottom and Alton to the top had the stop control. There was a pizza shop, several different iterations of commercial retail food operations on the left corner, which is the northwest corner. And then 107 from Pittsfield to the right to Laconia on the left did not stop. And both of the 107 approaches were kind of coming downhill, so people would come downhill and around a little bit of a curve. But again, we did a lot of different things to try to improve the stop condition, but if people were stopping on 140, they were just misjudging the speed of people coming in because the 107 traffic didn't have to stop. And we converted that in 2020, and coincidentally, we have the guy in the office right next to me lives just off the screen to the top, and we get pretty immediate feedback anytime there's issues. And he has said that locally it seems that like it works fine. We haven't seen any of the backups that we thought we might get. If you want to advance it one more time. This is probably the closest to this intersection here, only it's a higher volume. So this is Auburn. 121 to the south is Chester. 121 to the left is Manchester, and then Hooksett Road goes to Hooksett, and then to the right is Raymond Road going to Raymond. So 121 didn't have stop control, but Raymond Road and Hooksett Road both did. But again, you'd see the people that were going from Manchester Road east or taking the left didn't have a stop sign, but the people at those two intersections expected them to yield when they were making either left turns or right turns. That lower left corner wasn't all pavement, just so to facilitate the truck turns in that direction. So making that a yield, a stop going to the right, probably wasn't practical because they didn't have anybody to yield to other than people coming left or through the other intersections. So we put that aisle in there so that we'd have a place to put a stop sign for the people going from 121 to Raymond Road or Hooksett Road. Kind of similar to what you'd have here coming out of the village with that channelized right turn going from this direction going south or west. That already has a place to put a stop sign, so that's why I think this is as close as what we have here, although it's a lot more traffic. Just fixed physically, it's as close as anything else. And you can see the crashes that they had here. From 2011, the 5 years before we made the change, there were 6 crashes and 1 with a minor injury. And then the 8 years after, there were similar number of crashes, but it was only a possible injury. And our hearings examiner, so an attorney lived in, I think, Deering, lived to the south in Auburn, and would come through this intersection every day. And she told me how much better it worked as an always stop. It was kind of a subtle change because, again, if you're going 121 west, you kind of feel like you should stop anyway because you come into a 4-way intersection and making a left. And then the other side had pretty much a free right for the majority of traffic. It's just the smaller numbers that were going through and left that probably felt intuitive to stop anyway, especially after we put the aisle in there. Next slide. And then the last one, not too far from here, and again, it's kind of similar in that 150, this is Eaton. 153 takes Freedom to the lower right, and then Conway to the upper right. So 153 takes that hard right with two very low volume local roads intersecting. I think we had advisory speed curve signs, advisory signs on this curve. We treated it as a curve, a right turn curve and a left turn curve rather than an intersection. And we had 50-mile-an-hour curve signs on the northbound side. And if any of you know the area, there's a house just beyond that corner, and a vehicle at one point ended up in that woman's kitchen, I believe, but like through the front of the house. So the DOT put guardrail, it's the only place I know of where we put guardrail up to keep people from entering private property. And my only concern with the always stop here was that with such a free right and such a heavy volume, I didn't think people would comply with it. The reality is they're probably making rolling stops, but they are coming into more control doing it, and there's really nobody for them to yield to because the other volumes are so slow. And again, 6 crashes in the 5 years before, and then 3 years after, 0 crashes. So that's pretty significant, and that's a couple of years ago, so we've got another year or two of data since then. Next slide. So the reason that we've kind of changed our philosophy in always stops is that the end of we had that experience with some intersections that we reluctantly implemented always stop. So that was kind of in the back of our mind, but then in the end of 2023, beginning 2024, Federal Highway and the Roadway Safety Foundation recognized 10 life-saving projects around the whole country. And of that 10, 2 of them, Delaware and North Carolina, was simply for implementing always stops at rural intersections. I'm not a genius, but that's a pretty big, that gets my attention. And I've been around a while, so I know people to talk to. So I reached out to my counterparts in both of those states and met with them. This is what we saw in the report, 10 innovative highway safety practices representing the very best of the nation's roadway safety practices honored these states. And Delaware was recognized for converting 20 low-volume intersections from two-way stops to all-way stops. North Carolina was recognized for significantly reducing the number of fatal and serious crashes at rural intersections. And I can tell you the 2 states have kind of taken a different approach. Delaware is really taking a let the communities lead the effort. They're not proactively doing it. So I think they might be up to 50 around the state. North Carolina is well over 500 now. So they're using crash data and just proactively approaching these intersections. It's not something they really have to put in a capital program, so it's pretty easy for them to do, and they're not concerned about negative pushback because they keep promoting how much of a difference it's making. Next slide. So Delaware again, one of the big things from Delaware, you can see the crashes. They started with 50 intersections and they added 5 in the next 2 years, kind of on the pace we've been following. All types of crashes were reduced, and the frequency of all severities was also decreased. And the data was consistent on local roads like the local street network and on collector roads like the state highways or rural highways. So it wasn't, always stops typically have been like in an urban street environment, but they were pushing it into some of the more rural roads. In the last line, we tended to hang our hat on the manual and uniform traffic control devices crash criteria and traffic volumes. But in Delaware, they implemented, half of the locations that they implemented for their research did not meet that criteria. They did it either based on crashes or just to decrease the complaints and concerns and near misses. And this is kind of before we had the access to the AI telemetrics data, the stuff that measures near misses, high braking, stop sign compliance and things like that based on video. So this is just based on crash data, so that's kind of a limited data set. Next slide. So this is kind of highlights what they saw for crash reductions. So the crash types, the angle type, which is the most severe type of crash, was reduced by 66%. And then the injury types was reduced by 82%. And obviously the fatals, they didn't have any fatals at those 25 crashes, but that represents a pretty small number, so the data is probably not significant. But 82% reduction in injury crashes, I think, is significant. Next slide. Get into North Carolina. Similarly, they started with 50 intersections. They were all the four leg, the true went through and then cross street type of an intersection. They saw a 68% reduction in all of the crashes and 77% reduction in fatal in injury crashes, and similarly 75% reduction in frontal impact crashes. And then the big thing that jumped out to me is that the benefit to cost ratio, and we talk about from safety perspective, we estimate the reduced crashes and what that benefit's going to be based on the value of fatalities and serious injuries and property damage crashes versus the cost of the implementation. And we think anything better than 1-to-1 is good. They're looking at 83-to-1 benefit to cost ratio, and that's based on a contracted $20,000 per location. We've been doing a lot of them ourselves for $500, so you can imagine what that benefit to cost would be. And then their philosophy is that where there's a demonstrated safety problem and a pattern of crashes at an intersection, always stop should be considered. Next.
Question.
Yeah.
Was it an angled crash and why is that worse?
Angle crash is right angle. So like on a four-way stop, you'd have the two traffics going this way, and if somebody cuts out in front of somebody, that's going to be at an angle. When the roundabout, it'd be the side swipe type of a crash, so in a roundabout it's a circular movement and people would come in at a side swipe, so you're not going to get that
T-bone.
T-bone. And if you remember the crash in Albany 3 years ago where the young child was killed when his father was turning into the Sunnyside cabins, coincidentally his dad came in today and explained how that worked. So he got hit from behind, which is a less severe crash, but he got hit and then pushed into oncoming traffic. And he showed the picture of the frame of the passenger seat door where his son's head hit. So that's why those are more severe. Anybody else have any questions? That was a good one. So just continuing with North Carolina, and like I said, we reached out to them to get some more information. And one of the things that really caught me in the presentation that they shared that they used to sell the always stop in the state is that the slide on the left is kind of what we've been going through. Usually when we get to a town and they have a crash concern, crash history or safety concern, they want the overhead flashing beacon and they want like enhanced signing and marking. So those first two categories from bottom to top, they found that those things weren't hitting the mark. They weren't hitting the target. They were missing it. Same thing with the intersection conflict warning system, which you don't see any around here. We've got a few pilot locations in the state, but essentially it would put a light, it would flash the light on the main route to tell people that there was somebody entering from the minor route. And again, we're not finding that that's as effective as we hope. So the two treatments that they felt were right on the mark were the always stop and the roundabouts. And always stop, like I said, $1,000 to implement, roundabout anywhere from a couple $100,000 to several million. So cost benefit is a lot different. And then the volume thresholds don't necessarily apply to this intersection because the volumes are pretty low here, but keep that in mind for later in the slides. They develop a matrix in North Carolina where two roads, major and minor, had less than 4,000 vehicles a day. They pretty much go ahead and put the always stop in, no questions asked. You get up to 7,500 on both or either road, and they might start looking at traffic performance and see if there's going to be any concerns, and then they'll consider it all the way up to 15,000 vehicles a day. New Hampshire doesn't have very many of those types of intersections, so that to me was an eye-opener that we kind of use as a guide when we're looking at intersections in New Hampshire. Next slide. So the opportunities with always stop control is that safer speeds on major routes. A couple of the ones we put in last year, we did before and after speed data because we've got access to TomTom data. And while the stop control is not intended to be, and it's not intended to be for speed control, the reality is if you got people that aren't controlled going through an intersection and you put stop signs there, even if they're rolling stop, you're going to get within the influence area of the intersection pretty significant speed reductions. And we were seeing anything from 10 to 15 miles an hour on those approaches. It doesn't necessarily affect this because you've got the sharp turn on it, but it's something to consider. It requires all drivers to stop, so if somebody runs a stop sign, the odds of two people running a stop sign at the same time is pretty low. Slower stop traffic provides a safer environment for pedestrians, so the pedestrian has a right of way whenever there's a stop sign. And it doesn't require a long-term commitment to the flashing beacons or other stop sign enhancements. I know we've got the beacon on top of the westbound 113 stop sign. I'm not sure sure if that's still necessary, but, because it's been there for a while, but if you stop all four corners, eventually you can get rid of those because people tend to get used to them. And it can be implemented almost immediately, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. The challenges with it is it requires some short-term re-education. Familiar drivers need to be re-educated, so we tend to do it with flanking stop signs and flanking stop ahead, and each of those will have orange flags on it for up to a year to let people know that there's something different. And when we put them in, there'll usually be a message board a week in advance to let people know something's coming, and then a month or so after that to remind people of the new traffic pattern. It doesn't introduce new delay for the major street. I don't think it's an issue necessarily here, but it may need to conduct some intersection analysis. I don't think we'd do that here. And then there's cultural institutional resistance to change and or inconvenience. I didn't put it in this slide deck, but when we put Always Stop in Chichester, they put out a press release that said if you have any questions, and put my email address there. And I got a few public input. One of them started with "You're an absolute idiot" in all caps, and that was the highlight. It went downhill from there. So that was about a year ago, and I should probably reach out to that person again and see what do you think now. So you do have some of that resistance to change. You can't read this, and in the last since 2014, not a lot of crashes here. There's looks like it's been 3 crashes, with 2 with motor vehicle and another with an animal. Property damage only, and 1 unknown, so not a lot, but before that I think we've got data back to, I want to say 2005, and there were 2 injury crashes and 1 possible injury. So there's not a lot of the safety issue from the crash history, but like I said, we've got other means to address safety now with the telematics. It's not free, so we would kind of be choosy where we put it. But that shows you some of the near-miss stuff that it's only a matter of time before there is a crash. So behavioral stuff.
I live right near the intersection, and I spend a lot of time on my porch these days. So I watch the traffic there, and one thing that is a little unusual is that we have gravel pits close to the intersection in 2 directions. And so the kind of traffic we have is 10-wheel dump trucks. And if they're coming up from on 113 going toward 113A, they don't stop. And they go through that intersection at...
On the right turn?
No, straight through.
Straight through?
Toward...
Oh, right, yep.
There's a gravel
They
pit
don't
just
have a
up the
stop
road.
sign, yeah.
They go through the intersection at 30 miles an hour.
Right.
And so the consequences of a crash are severe. You know, we haven't had one.
Right.
I've heard a couple of, really within the last 10 days, I've heard a couple of 10-wheelers lean on their horns because someone is in the way.
Instead of their brakes, right?
Yeah, well,
The
that's...
hand works faster than the foot.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying that's an unusual aspect of this intersection, is the type of traffic we have.
That's good to know.
Yeah. One thing that I noticed in Memorial Day last year was, because you're right there at the memorial for a good length of time, and the amount of traffic going both ways, mostly was going south, probably because it was the last day of a 3-day weekend, was trucks hauling campers and trailers. And they've started a long trip, and they really don't want to stay any time in Tamworth. So they're kind of in a hurry, and they're kind of distracted by what's ahead of them. So again, it's all it is on that is a number, but in reality, it's that type of person is more distracted, I think, and perhaps more hazardous, because it's something really big with a lot of momentum.
Yeah. I can tell you, I live in Concord. My parents come from Rumford, Maine, so I come through here frequently. I usually go one direction to and then the other direction back, and my wife is a city girl that doesn't like taking rural routes, so she always would prefer to take 16 to 25.
Yeah.
So when I take, and I usually come over Page Hill Road, she doesn't like to go that way, but so I'm one of the ones that takes that route as a bypass, but I'm not doing it for speed, I'm doing it for the view of Shakura when you come over the hill. So, but I know that there's people that are on my tail that are doing it for speed.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of different in that respect. So this is the crash data, and we can go to the next slide. So there's several different ways that we can implement it. Well, not really several, but there's the existing condition on the left. And one of the things that I'd want to do if we make this an all-way stop is not allow that left turn into that channelized lane. Have them go to the intersection and make a left. We'd have to check the turning radiuses that make sure that we can do that. Are the 10-wheelers making that movement?
No, well, not as frequently.
Not really.
Not as
I
frequently.
mean, there's a lot of pavement there. I think the
Except
turning
when he's
radiuses
on his
might
way
be a
here for a
challenge.
meeting.
No, he's coming
No,
straight
he's coming
through.
straight through.
Oh, okay.
And I know the fire chief, so I could ask him if he's got an apparatus that he'd be concerned about with
Because that's pretty
going
tight.
that way. But yeah, coming over the hill and making that sharp, I mean, I think it still works if they use it the way it is now, but it would work better if everybody came to the intersection and made lefts around them. So that's what you see in the middle. Actually, the one on the middle keeps that channelized, and what you see in teal is taking a little bit of pavement out to reinforce that, but you can do it with just striping as well.
So the one in the middle prohibits the left-hand turn going north to west?
Correct.
Gotcha.
And then the one on the right is to take the whole, that whole island out. Obviously, you'd have to move the memorial, which probably is not something the town wants to do, but then you make it a true four-way intersection and then extend that one driveway to the...
Well, would you really have to move the memorial, or
Yeah, I guess you could keep it right there, it'd be bigger, yeah.
would you want to widen that lane, or just?
Yeah, the one on the right, now that I think of it, that meant that you'd have that whole green space around the memorial, so the memorial
Yeah.
setting could actually be bigger. And-
Yeah.
And when you're standing there for Memorial Day, you've got a place to stand outside the pavement.
Yeah.
In the conversations we've had locally, the slide on the right is the preferred.
That's not as easy to implement, obviously, because
No.
there's work involved, but
Yeah.
I don't know what our district work plan is. It's something we'd coordinate with them. But we could do it in two phases too. We could implement the middle
That's
and
true.
then come back and do the other later. So if you go to the next slide. And other locations, I know when we met with the safety committee, we talked about a couple. This is Page Hill Road coming into 113 on the other end of Page Hill Road, and then 116 and 113 on the right of Shakura Village. Go back, we've got a consultant that took a look at all of our four-way intersections in the state, all of the intersections in the state, but then did a ranking of the four-way intersections to see where the all-way stop based on traffic condition, traffic volumes, geometry, crash history, and things like that. They ranked them based on all of that criteria, and this was 14th in that ranking, so we've already converted two of the ones above it, so it's really 12 or 13 in the statewide criteria. And I know in the past, I mean, way back, when we first were talking roundabouts, and Mike Walworth, I think, from Australia came and looked at a roundabout at that location, and that was before you guys did the traffic calming project in there years ago. So I know this has been on the radar for a while. When we've got these ranked projects, and in the next year or so, we're going to be advertising a project to implement always stop in as many of the ranked locations that we can. So keep that on your radar. And again, I look back at that matrix on traffic volume that I showed, where 7,500 vehicles a day would be kind of routine. I think we're around 6,500 vehicles a day on Route 16 in this location. A lot lower than that on the 113 approaches. So it would be a good candidate. I don't see anything in the near future in our 10-year plan doing a roundabout or some other project there. So if this continues to be a safety issue in town, keep that in mind when we put that project together. One of the things we're going to do is reach out to towns that are on the list and make sure that we have support for it before we just put it into a project. And then the one on the Page Hill Road, 113, Page Hill Road doesn't stop, neither does 113 West. It seems awkward coming from 113 and eastbound, coming into that intersection. You really wouldn't think the local road on your right is going to have the right-of-way, but they do.
It didn't used to, I think.
Yeah, I think we changed that. And again, it was one of those intersections where the configuration was odd, and we started experimenting or trying different measures, and that was what the last thing that we picked. But I think there's still issues with it. So I think if you were to do the 16-113 as part of a project, it would be logical while that contractor's there to put stop signs up at Page Hill Road and the other leg. I don't think that's close enough that the 113 traffic would back up to the other intersection. Because I think the one thing about an all-way stop when you get heavier volumes is it's not like a traffic signal. The traffic signal turns red and that queue backs up until the light turns green. And then the cars in the front start moving, but the car in the back doesn't move until everybody in front of them moves. Always stop, everybody moves one car at a time. So it's a little bit different. So we're not asking for any kind of decision on this tonight, but if you go to the next slide, for this intersection 113, 113A, if there's local support, if we get something in writing from the select board that says that they endorse or agree to the always stop at this location, we can refine the design to come up with how we would implement it. We'd review any recommended geometric changes with the town for concurrence. If it's going to be something like taking pavement out, we would make sure that we share that with the town before we implement it. And then we either include that in that systemic project that I talked about, or we could work it into our own systemic, our own work plan. I think this one's not on the radar for that systemic project because it's not the true four-way intersection. So whether we could add that in because it's convenient, we'd have to have that discussion. But if the town's not interested, we're not going to pursue the all-way stop. I mean, the commissioner has the authority to regulate state roads, but if the town doesn't support it, that doesn't go very far. And then if it still was a concern to do something here, the town would have to pursue an alternative intersection, like a mini roundabout or something like that, through the 10-year plan. So that's pretty much my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any other questions you guys might have.
So do you have traffic volume for numbers for this intersection?
I didn't put them on the slide. We do have it. They were so low that it was way off that matrix. It was like in that first box.
Yeah.
I think you probably get the Sunday traffic, Friday afternoon, Friday evening, Saturday traffic that's cutting through.
Right.
But the routine traffic is pretty low. And even the weekend traffic is probably not, the times that I've done it, even if I come through Conway or into Ospey with a big queue, it's usually not too bad traffic here. I don't see it being a traffic operational issue. I think when we first looked at this, we were concerned that somebody would stop coming over this hill, coming over that hill, and then somebody come over just behind them, we get rear-ended.
Yeah.
I'm not as concerned about that. Some of the other ones that we have implemented it recently, we had similar concerns. I'm thinking Chester, 102 coming out of Chester, the concern was that they call it a massive hill. New Hampshire's got hills.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the term massive means, but they were concerned that somebody would stop at the hill when somebody else is trying to get over the hill with the foot down on the accelerator. From what I've heard from the town administrator, the police chief, it's been working pretty well.
I wondered if it did happen, I wonder if it would cut down on the number of people cutting through.
If there was an always stop?
Yeah.
The one that we did in Chichester is probably the closest on that respect to this location. If you know where the Epsom Circle is, anybody, Route 4 and 28?
Yeah.
Route 4 and 28 is the primary route, but the main street, Chichester, snakes diagonally across that intersection, and there's two very sharp right turns on that leg. And we, at the request of a town to another project in town, we implemented always stop 2 weeks ago, and it was the same thing. From my perspective, if it discouraged people from using that as a through route, that was a positive result. It wasn't the intent, but if it got to be more, if there was any delay because of that, maybe it would discourage people from using it as a cut through.
With an all-way stop on the intersection coming north on that road where you have the hill, it's kind of blinding you. Would you put signage further down that hill if there's a stop sign ahead?
Yeah, all of the
permanent.
all of the stops on rural highways, especially if they're not expected, would have have a stop ahead sign. With the always stops, we've been doing it in pairs, so we'll have two stop ahead signs. And initially they'll have a panel that says new, and then orange flags call attention to them. And then there'll be 2 stop signs at the intersection, one left and right, and they'd have the same new panel, new on the top, all the way on the bottom, and then it would have the orange flags to draw attention to it. And they stay for about a year. Once we're satisfied that the intersection's working, we're not gonna proactively remove them, but as the sign crews are doing maintenance, they can take them down after a year or so. But yeah, we find, and we do the message boards in advance too for a month, just to let people know, get their attention that there's something new coming up.
So, just north of Conway Village, it's not a always stop situation, but are you familiar where Jonathan Seafood was years ago? And you can...
Out to the covered bridge.
Yeah, if you're coming south, you can take a right and go through the covered bridge, or you can
Oh,
stay.
right, yeah, and they just teed that up
Yeah.
months ago.
Yeah. I think that was a good move, but I was thinking about this intersection up here and how removing the pavement wasn't part of the state project on
On what?
well, on the road toward the covered bridge, the little section that you're not going to use anymore. Was that probably up to the town to deal with that pavement? Oh, actually, you know what? I think they still use that section.
There's a driveway that comes out of that, so part of that pavement's still there, but they did, I want to say they beefed up the delineators, and that's probably the state that beefed up the delineators to really get the attention of people that are used to just flying to the right. But I think the state either worked with Conway or the property owners. I think the state did a lot of the work there.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, because for whatever reason, I've been subscribing to the Conway Daily Sun, and I've got articles, and a lot of the comments in the articles were not happy with the state. So it gave me the impression that the state was involved with it. It would have been the maintenance side of the house and not my side, but that was my impression.
So Carl, do you have a proposal to make a recommendation now or work with the traffic committee further?
Not yet, no. So I formed another committee, but it's really just about traffic safety in Tamworth Village, which includes that four-way intersection. No, we're prepared to make another recommendation, but not regarding that intersection yet.
Okay. Anything else for me while I'm here?
No, thank you.
No.
All right.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
I'll leave this with you as well.
Okay, appreciate that.
All right. Thank you, Bill
Thank you,
Lambert.
Take care.
Yeah.
Now we're going to hear from our librarian about rooftop solar contract.
Okay, the contract was reviewed by town council, and there were some changes suggested. I sent them to Barrington Solar last week after they came in and asked if they had any objections to the changes. I have not heard back. So that's where it's at. I can say the changes are pretty minor except for the whole removing the arbitration piece, which is not surprising given it was an attorney that looked at it. But I asked specifically on my message if that was an issue, if that would be an issue. So I do not know, but it would be great to move forward. I'm not sure how you feel about that with not having any feedback. I did invite him to this. I suspect people are, it's vacation time too. whether my messages were going to someone's inbox but not getting opened, and also voice calls. So anyway, that's where we're at.
So you really do need to hear back from them before you can...
It would be good to hear back from them,
Yeah.
whether that's, an okay change. I don't think it's significant, but we don't know how they feel about it.
Or we could approve it, and if they object, we could talk again at our next meeting.
You can approve it contingent on their approval?
No, we could just approve
it. You could just approve it, you're right.
And if they don't like it, they talk to you, you come back and talk to us. We could change our approval at a future meeting.
That's right, they wouldn't have to sign it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What's
Yeah.
important to us is our council's
Right.
review, not theirs.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think it was a good suggestion.
Mhm. Yeah, and there was some changes about workers' comp that I thought were good as well.
Yeah, I think that needs to align with the federal regulations as well, the workers' comp does.
So, I may have missed a meeting where this was talked about, but I recall the bid was a little higher than what was allocated through town meeting, and you were gonna find in your budget a place to pay for that extra couple thousand. Where does that stand?
The bid came in slightly under the warrant article amount.
Perfect.
Am I thinking about something else then?
No, we thought it was gonna be higher. We were
Ah.
told verbally that it would probably be
Ah.
higher, and when it came in, it was
Okay.
slightly lower.
Do we have a motion to?
I'll make a motion to approve the rooftop solar contract at the Cook Memorial Library.
Second. A roll call vote?
You said yes?
Perry, yes. Schaefer, yes.
Price, yes.
Roberts, yes. All right.
Thank you. I'll let them know. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, Mary.
Thanks, Mary.
Mary.
And so now we'll move to old business, and we'll hear from Leanne about the brownfields report.
I met last Friday with two folks from LRPC, and we had notes from Tim Andrews, who's the engineer from Nobis, who's been working on the Brownfields project. And so this meeting was about talking over what public feedback sessions might look like, so that we can, this is free under the grant as well, but it allows us to have free consultants running a town process to just talk about what the town might like to see that property used for. And we're under no obligation to, if we have these talking sessions, to act on anything. It's not like we are under some timeline to, float a bond and construct. It's just, the timeline is the grant funding running out. So if we want to be able to have consultants that we don't have to pay for, that's covered by the grant funding, we do this step now. So they're gonna get back to me. We talked about kind of like the culture of Tamworth. We talked about other conversations that have been had about that piece of land over the past, 10 years or so. And they took notes, and they're gonna be back to us within 2, maybe 3 weeks, with a proposal for us to approve, to accept, or to tweak, about contracting with them to set up the listening sessions. And that involves everything from how to notify people to make sure you get a good turnout, that anybody who wants to participate knows about it, to where to have it, to like all the logistics. So that's the next step with brownfields. That's the next step with brownfields.
Okay.
They would like to, ideally for them, with the funding, they would like to do this, get this going by the end of August, maybe early September. So it's a quick process.
Yeah.
Once they come up with a plan. Excuse me.
Good to keep it moving.
Yep, it's moving.
Okay, and next we'll hear from Leanne about our building notification form.
So I don't have feedback. So the next process was to share the draft that I shared with you all with the attorney to get feedback about tweaks in language and everything, so we don't end up in another situation where we're, inadvertently doing something wrong. So haven't heard back from him about the actual form draft. The other thing that I had worked on was getting from him language, Mike, the attorney, language about the letter that we would send out to folks who had paid the $100 fee that we shouldn't have been collecting. So he's given us a very rough draft here. This is a draft with legal, so it's still in this phase. And so the thing to do with this would be to make any notes or comments you have on it based on what you know about the situation and send it directly back to the attorney. And we will get an updated note with corrections and clarifications, hopefully for the next meeting. He got this out pretty quickly so that we can vote on it, and to vote, Emily and I will do the math so that we have the number that this is gonna cost us, not just the number for the reimbursements, but we're working out questions too, like, does this kind of thing have to be sent certified mail? Can you just put a stamp on it? What is that gonna cost us? How many letters are we really talking about? So we'll have the kind of data points for the next meeting, and hopefully a copy of the letter that's fine-tuned so that we can approve it, so we can start the process of tracking people down and sending the letter out.
Cool. Thank you for doing that. And now we'll get to the administrator report.
City account balance is $5,151,764. I just thank you for dealing with me with Zoom tonight. So now that we meet the second and fourth Tuesday, we're going to be off for the next 2 weeks, because we'll be out last week of July, first week of August. So just wanted to make sure you guys are okay with that. And then, what else? Energy committee, we resubmitted the EV charging bids. It looks like we're getting a couple more bites on that, so that's good. And lastly, the ambulance contract. There was a meeting scheduled tonight, unfortunately, so I couldn't be there, but we do have two representatives from the fire department attending. It sounded like they were mostly wanting to talk about, there was like a snafu with the billing, but they were welcoming also input, because a lot of the towns have been complaining that we're supposed to have 3 ambulances available and only, one is showing up. So they asked for all the towns to kind of compile their list of complaints and concerns ahead of time so they could discuss that tonight. So I'm looking forward to hearing how that went. But that's all I've got.
Can you, I'm sorry, I missed the dates. What meeting are we now not gonna have? So we're not gonna meet the 29th, and we're not meeting the 5th, the next meeting's the 12th?
Right.
That's what you were saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although I will say, you know what?
Wasn't there something about the 7th?
There's a meeting on the 7th. It's a Thursday, so it's an oddball meeting.
Yeah.
It's Kim's request
Yes.
The tax deed.
for tax deeding purposes. So we won't have 2 weeks off. Sorry.
Yeah, but for regular business, yeah.
Yeah, we'll have the 7th.
Okay.
But that's all I've got.
What time is the meeting on the 7th? Is it at 6?
It'll be
6, yeah.
We'll go to select board updates.
Following up on your comments about the bids for the EV chargers, there is a second potential bidder. The chair of the energy committee met with that entity here so they could look at the electrical panel and all that sort of thing. That happened today. So I think the bids are due on the 25th, the extended bid deadline. So it does sound like there will be a second bidder submitting something for the EV chargers, so that's good. I did have a couple of discussions with HEB engineers regarding the recycling building design. That I informed them the site we chose was the existing brush pile, and so now they're with that information putting together their estimate of the work that I think it's going to take to do the design and get the project out to bid. So I think that Eric mentioned we hope to have that at the end of this week.
Cool. Good.
That's all I got.
Okay. So my Tamworth Village Traffic Safety Committee did meet last night, and we came up with a proposal, but I wanted a chance to run it by Richard Roberts, our road agent, before bringing it to the select board so I could say whether he approves or disapproves. And it's really regarding In this case, it's a short-term project. It's regarding painting parking stripes and possibility of a crosswalk here between this parking area and the library. It's essentially it, but I do want to, well, and getting a couple more granite blocks for parking stops over there. Initially, Richard had said he could pay for those things out of his budget, but the crosswalk wasn't part of it when I spoke to him before. And he said they're like $600 or $800 just to paint a crosswalk. So it's not big money, but I want to find out if he's still okay with all that. And then I'll bring the recommendation to the select board. But that's it.
Okay. And if you don't mind tossing up the PowerPoint.
Oh God, here we go again. Okay.
I just wanted to share with everybody kind of, I've been talking about these leak containers and the need to purchase new containers. We did find out that Waste Management has no more containers to rent us, or to rent, which I find rather interesting.
That is.
But so I just put together a quick deck of some stuff that, and feel free to just kind of go through it, no particular. There's some nasty stuff. This first one is completely not repairable.
These are ours?
These are ours, yeah. And it's interesting, if you know, the damage looks a lot like a forklift, which we don't have, puncturing them. So
Yeah.
we're having some conversations with Waste Management. That one's completely unrepairable. You'll fall through the floor if you step foot in it, basically. But this is one that we did get fixed up recently, and we had a pretty bad leaking situation on the ground level compactor container. And I think Brian had brought up last meeting, and so this was just done this week. I did a great job. So we're looking at having him come back and getting a few other quotes for other people fixed up that container that would have cost us $10,000 in half an afternoon. So
Who did the welding?
I didn't get the name.
I think they've had Mike do it in the past.
He had said that everybody
Didn't
that
look
we
like
had in the past was not available or not responsive, so this was somebody new.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was up there looking at the bathroom and it was a vehicle that wasn't Mike Davis, it was somebody else. I forget the name on it. A white panel truck.
So we're gonna keep working on getting those taken care of, looking around, talk to Rickers about what we can do with a couple of junk containers that are absolutely not repairable. And,
But are we looking at buying some?
we're looking at buying some, like I said, we were open to, I was looking for a quote
Yeah.
to rent them, and they just don't have, they're not paying to rent us.
Is there any value in the ones to be trashed?
That's what he's looking into with Rickers, to see if we can get from scrap value there. I mean, they're $10,000 about, brand new.
You would think the metal would have some scrap value.
What
but-
metal's left, yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully there is. But that's-
We do want good ones,
Yeah.
particularly, well, I mean, for all locations, because, when they pull that, even from the below-grade compactor,
It's pretty nasty.
It
they
is.
pull that out, it's pretty nasty in there. They have to go in there and clean that out.
Yep.
It's-
And that's why.
And so, I think if it comes to it, we should buy some new ones.
Yep.
And maybe it's sort of a near the year-end purchase when you see if you have the money available.
Correct, and we're gonna
That's
talk
what
about
it
getting on the CIP and see what we need to do there. Thanks, Emily.
Yeah. Okay.
Brownfields, building notification form, and most recently, a bunch of new legislation has passed that could impact Tamworth based on the land use regulations we have and those we don't have. So I'm adding that to the planning board's next work session to discuss, just so that we're ready when some of the new regulations go into effect. So, that's it.
Nothing from me.
Okay.
This along.
I forgot one thing.
Okay.
Townhouse, Gene Chester has taken 2 of the windows out of the townhouse. It looks like they are, particularly on the left that gets the snow dump on it, is needing more repair than she thought, so they'll just be out of the building for a little longer to do more repair. And that is partially funded by a grant from the Moose Plate program.
That was a fateful day. I helped her take those windows out.
Oh,
I pulled out of the townhouse and my truck died.
Oh, that was that day,
And
yeah.
it's still dead.
Wow. Who's play gonna help with that too?
So does that happen, so is that the townhouse, like the committee does their own?
Nope.
Oh.
What,
We
does
did
their
that a
own
couple
what?
years ago.
So, well, do they, so the boost plate, I don't think we,
I did that grant application.
oh, did we have it?
Yep, and they gave us half the money up front because
Yeah.
we requested it. So when we get the final invoice, we give them a report, and they give us the rest of the grant money.
Okay,
Yeah,
Which
this
will
is
cover
like
most of the
2 or
winter.
3 years ago now, right?
Right.
Yeah.
The project has to be done by Labor Day of this year.
oh, okay, so this was, I was gonna say, I didn't think we had budgeted for it.
It was a
this
while
year,
ago,
but this
yeah.
is old, okay,
Yeah.
alright.
Okay, any more?
Can you please repeat the situation with the fire truck?
Sure. There's a firefighter who's new to us, new to our department, but he's a seasoned fire department firefighter from other departments. And in other places he's worked, the policy's been that they've filled up pools. He filled up his pool. He then heard in a conversation, somebody in the department saying that a citizen had requested to have their pool filled, and somebody else said, oh, we used to do that, but we don't do that anymore because of blah, 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 all kinds of, liability and whatever else, and risk if your fire truck's empty when you get a call. So we stopped doing that. And he then realized that this department didn't have that policy and talked to, I don't know if it was Chief or Jim, about it, and said what he had done. And they said, yep, well, don't do it again because
But
we don't do
what
that.
gave him the right to leave the town?
That's all I know. That's he lives there. It was his house. Yeah.
Okay.
That's the answer I got from the department.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other public input? Yes, Ed.
Yeah, I wanna
This is
Yeah, go ahead.
this is Maureen.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if I'm interrupting someone else. I apologize. This is Maureen. I just wanted to thank you, Steve, for those pictures. I'm the member of this household that goes to the transfer station the most, and I have to say I've never looked carefully, at the bottom of those, and it's really very telling. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Okay, now Ed.
Thank you. I wanted to send appreciation to your administrator for her response to my 91A request. We still have some bugs to work out on some of the information I asked for, but I just wanted to send her. She's very prompt and answered it very quickly. It was very good. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Good. All right, we'll move on to the signature file. Make a motion to approve the select board meeting minutes from July 8th, 2025. Second. Roll call vote.
Did you say yes?
Barry, yes.
Schaefer, yes.
Chris, yes.
Roberts, yes. Make a motion to approve the select board non-public meeting minutes dated June 24th, 2025. Second. Roll call vote.
Did you say yes?
Barry, yes. Schaefer, yes.
Chris, yes.
Roberts, yes. I make a motion to decline the use of the DRA PA 28 inventory of taxable property form for 2026. Second. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Did you say yes?
Barry, yes. Schaefer, yes.
Chris, yes.
Roberts, yes. Make a motion to approve DRA use of the DRA PA 16 application for 2025 reimbursement to towns in which federal and state forest land is situated. Second. Roll call vote.
Did you say yes?
Barry, yes. Schaefer, yes.
Chris, yes.
Roberts, yes. Make a motion to approve the PA 29 solar exemption for map 202 lot 71. Second. Roll call vote.
Did you say yes?
Barry, yes. Schaefer,
Chris, yes.
Roberts, yes. Make a motion to approve the intent to cut for map 421 lots 1 and 2 and map 419 lot 1. Second. Roll call vote.
Did you say yes?
Barry, yes. Schaefer.
Chris, yes.
Roberts, yes. I make a motion to approve the yield tax on timber cut for map 402 lot 2 in the amount of $5.73.
I was just gonna ask, how does your timber yield tax go into $5?
They must have cut one tree.
Sawdust, maybe?
Yeah, I don't know, I double checked it to make sure there was no typos, but it was a 0.45. Well, it's in there, we can look at it, but it's,
That paid it one time, was it?
what was that?
Is that paid at one time? Or is it-
Yeah,
We can set up a payment plan.
payment plan for
That's
that.
the way I'm looking for
Yeah.
payment.
Yeah,
Well,
they did 3 cords of wood, which is not much, and then there was it was like 0.45 board feet on hemlock.
Honest people.
Yeah, really. Most wouldn't be. I wouldn't. Oh, what, did I say that out loud? Roll call vote.
You saying yes?
Barry, yes. Schaefer, yes.
Prentice, yes.
Roberts, yes.
Make a motion to approve the payroll in the amount of $64,637.26. Second. Roll call vote.
You say yes?
Barry, yes. Schaefer, yes.
Prentice, yes.
Roberts, yes.
Make a motion to approve accounts payable in the amount of $233,496.68. Second. 200,000 of it was a school payment. Roll call vote.
You say yes?
Barry, yes. Schaefer, yes.
Prentice, yes.
Roberts, yes.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Okay.
At
7:19.
7:19.
I wonder if the people that filed an intent for $5 worth of wood read the back of the intent where it gives you all the exemptions of what you can
What you can
do.
do.
Like you can cut up to 10 cords of firewood and 10,000 board feet or something like that.
Yeah.
Shouldn't you
Without
then give them
filing?
that money?
Yeah, without filing.
I don't know, I gotta.
I mean, wouldn't the board?
I gotta get my raise somehow.
I don't know.
All right.
Pass those papers
I think
right
there
along
is
to our
something like if
policy.
it's for sale and
We'll
not
start
personal
signing.
use, I think you're
What the heck?
technically supposed to
Should they start
do
over
the,
there?
It doesn't matter, start somewhere, anywhere,
You start.
anywhere's
Yeah.
good.
I think if you're selling it. Maybe they sold the 3 cords of firewood and the
I'm like,
450 board feet of hemlock. Yeah.
It's David Little, so I'm pretty sure he knows what he's doing though.
I usually got allergy
Hey.
night
He's well versed.
last
Don't
night
go
and I
anywhere.
didn't, and by the
Oh,
time
sign
I was at the end of the day, I was just like,
it.
yeah, that's what I usually take.
Oh.
But I was here and I'm like, you don't check the sewer tax? That's what I usually like, I'm like, you have a Claritin? Nope, this is what I have. She pulled out this red bag, you pull up.
Mystery
Yeah,
pills.
yeah, she's like, Emma, I swear, it's,
For some reason, it has it
I
up
swear,
there.
it's
Definitely not
non-drowsy.
Huh.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
yeah,
it
that's
opens up on
cute.
your
Well,
end,
I can't say no.
Yeah,
obviously.
yeah,
Okay.
it's just PDFs.
When you
10 applicants for the work is in $5.
Maybe there was one Excel.
If it's a PDF, were you able to open the file?
Yeah.
On
Yes, we don't have to
Google,
sign it, we're on
not
phone.
on your computer.
Oh, I
On
don't know
the
that I
Google.
double.
Go back to the Google thing,
Yeah,
Drive,
yeah.
and see if it opens on your.
I've got one here that's already signed.
Okay.
I don't know if it might be, you might have a protection.
Yeah, the one that was, so 2 of them I was able to email to you. The one that I have to do the Google
You have to
Drive.
take the
Oh, this is
Finance
the
documents, so
report
when
of
our dad has
timber
them, we
yield
see-
I signed
tax.
it last, so.
For
And then
Yeah.
paying the,
Yeah,
I,
but I wonder.
it's
if
more